This random recording is about my brother Colin. My brother Colin's interest in birds started early, inspired, I think, from school, where he joined a club for identifying the various species. Making lists was where it began. The various butterflies and moths and wildflowers and stars at night, and of course the birds. They soon had the common species identified and soon began to report lesser known ones: spotted flycatchers and bullfinches, yellow hammers and corn buntings, which were plentiful in the area. For Colin, this wasn't just about making lists. He'd seen the first couple of hundred species by the time he was 12. He began to travel to spot a rarity. The news of the arrival of an unusual migrant passed by word of mouth. These days, word goes around by social media, and the group identifying themselves as twitchers will travel the length of the British Isles to add something new to their list. Colin could identify bird song without seeing the bird, and the briefest sighting could be immediately identified from behavioral characteristics alone. He had a tightly knit group of enthusiasts who would travel to remote mountainous regions of Europe with the promise of a rare bird sighting, sometimes without success. The bee-eater, previously reported, had moved on. A tick for an Egyptian vulture, though, high up in the Spanish Sierra, that made the trip worthwhile. Colin attracted a group in his area of Suffolk, where he lived, whose interest was to ring birds. The information gathered contributed to a national register of migration and statistical data recording. Their base was an active sewage treatment works, where their nets could be placed, catching birds as they flew through. The filtration tanks were a rich source of flies and insects that attracted frequent visitors. As spring approached, migrants began to come through: swallows and martins, wheatears, chiffchaffs, buntings, all the birds who preferred to nest in the more temperate conditions that existed locally. The ringing group became busy, their lists grew longer, and their successful recoveries were more numerous. Colin became known in the local area as the go-to man for bird inquiries. People brought him pigeons with broken wings, blackbirds that had collided with the conservatory window glass. He became good with owls and was involved with the ringing of seabirds nesting on the cliffs. A local vicar called him in to resolve a dispute involving gulls nesting right above the pulpit. Should they be left alone or shooed away to avoid somebody preaching being bombarded during the sermon? Once went up a ladder, removing chicks for ringing. His ladder slid from under him, and an ambulance had to rush him to the emergency department, the chicks still cheeping from one of his parka pockets. When you hear of individuals who attract a reputation as a horse whisperer, Colin was himself a bird whisperer, a genuine bird whisperer. A bird in the hand, in Colin's hand, was always docile. They seemed to be reassured, allowing him to check wing feathers and to measure other dimensions, confident that they would soon be freed. I think of him like St. Francis of Assisi, surrounded by his familiars, happy in their company. doing what he was always meant to do. The birdman of heaven. They're safe with him. Ring the bells of heaven, Colin. Call those birds in to you. They're safe in your care.